Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormeli, joined today by Andrew Erickson and by Derek Brown. Fellas, we just did top 50 wide receiver rankings where we ran through some of the tiers and our early thoughts on guys that were maybe too high, too low, etc., etc. And we're running it back, doing the exact same thing here with the running backs. Before we dive in, Debro, what were kind of your early thoughts on the running back landscape? Because it's such a key position to get right. I always equate it to in fantasy baseball. It's like pitching, where it's the most important thing to get right, but it is also sometimes the trickiest to actually get it right on draft day. So what were kind of your early thoughts on just the landscape of the position?
I think looking at it from a 100-foot view this year, I'm going to honestly, it's another great year for zero RB. I guess I'll lead it off with that. I know that we saw running backs crush. I know all the veterans stay healthy. I know we're probably all in agreement that doesn't usually replicate year over year. So it's a good year when everybody's going to possibly dive headfirst into running backs often and early to maybe we see a war of attrition and things go sideways for that. But all it is to say, man, like I think, I'm going to be in drafts just kind of looking at this, probably waiting on running back. Either I'm going hero running back or I'm waiting on a lot of the positions and the rookies later.
Erickson, what do you think? I mean, I personally historically tend to be a hero running back kind of guy. Are you a zero RB truther? Do you think that this year's landscape maybe would lean you towards one direction or another that you would be either the same or different than you usually go? Because last year, to Debro's point, we saw early running backs smash. Do you think we're going to see an overcorrection by drafters this year?
Potentially. Maybe more of the superhero RB approach where you're double downing on some of these running backs in the first couple rounds. I still think that hero RB is the way to go because I think that it's smart to draft a running back with one of your high picks because that's where usually the highest scoring running backs come from. Saquon Barkley, yes, was the highest scoring running back last year. He wasn't going in the top 3, but he was also going at the top of the second round. It's not like he was a really cheap running back. You still had to invest high in draft capital. He was still part of, if you went hero RB last year, you probably had some Saquon Barkley here and there. So he was part of that strategy. So I think that you don't get it twisted. I think it's still about hero RB. You stay out of the middle with these middling RB2. The thing that you want to prioritize least in your fantasy lineup every year is your RB2 slot. That is the worst. That's the position you should invest the least amount of draft capital because it's the easiest one to replace. So the fact that we're coming in with this great rookie class, you lock and load one of these top running backs, whether it's a Bijan, whether you're buying the dip on Christian McCaffrey, one of these guys in the first couple rounds, you lock him in as your RB1, and then you just late round running back, and maybe you hit on this year's Bucky Irving or a Tyrone Tracy in the later rounds. So that's the strategy I'm going to go. That's the strategy I did last year, strategy I want to do this year. So yeah, hero RB all the way.
One last thing I want to add on here, Worm, is that going back to NFL draft season, we kept talking about it, and it's true. This is one of the best running back classes we've seen come out in a number of years. That's leading. We're going to have all of these amazing options of youth and guys that if we want to play the variance and players that are getting a little bit older, like the Aaron Jones of the world, other players like Alvin Kamara, like all these guys, or Jonathan Taylor can't stay healthy for another year. All of these guys in this strong running back rookie crop that we got incoming, again, that leads me to these final darts you're taking in the last 2 to 3 rounds of your draft, or you want to go zero RB, it's a wonderful year for it. Going back to, if we think it is a strong running back class, then it should lend itself to, yes, those darts at the end of drafts, or just going zero RB. It's a great year for it.
We're not doing this today, but we could have made this show an all-rookie show. Like, that's how many intriguing names spread out throughout the rankings. There's a guy right there in the top 5, all the way down to guys that didn't make the cut in the top 50, relevant rookies that are going to impact fantasy season. So we will talk about some of them, of course, but definitely somebody to pay attention to just kind of in your early draft strategy when you're thinking about what you want your drafts to look like. Just a reminder for everybody, I know we're going to run through a lot of names today. If you want to kind of follow along as best you can, all of our 2025 consensus rankings and tiers can be found at fantasypros.com/rankings. You can, of course, navigate to PPR rankings, standard. We're doing half PPR today, running backs only, of course. And then also another reminder, we've been talking about it all month. If you want a chance to win a signed Nico Collins Texans jersey for free, courtesy of our friends at pristineauction.com, all you have to do is subscribe to the Fantasy Pros YouTube channel right now, drop a comment below on any video, and that is it. We will be announcing a winner right here on the channel, so make sure to turn on those notifications so you can know when new videos are up and to claim your prize. Guys, we'll start at the very top like we always do with these episodes. There's kind of a top three in terms of how the tiers break down, so that's what we're going to focus on right off the bat. And it's the names that nobody will be surprised to hear. Saquon Barkley, Bijan Robinson, Jahmyr Gibbs. Now, you guys might quibble with the order. I think your mileage may vary on which one of those guys should be RB1. I think for the casual fan and fantasy manager, it'll be Saquon just because he's coming off this historic season. I think Saquon will be the first. In every draft where Jamar Chase isn't the first overall pick, I think Saquon will be the first overall pick. Like 99% of kind of standard drafts that you're in. That doesn't mean we necessarily agree with that. D-Bro, do you have Saquon number one, or is it one of these other two guys?
Nope. Saquon is not my RB1 this year. He's not even inside of my top three, to be honest. And this is not just tossing hot takes from the top, but guys, I'm old enough to remember when we talked about this last year with Christian McCaffrey and we worried about volume sneaking up. And quietly, dude, Saquon Barkley's tackle breaking metrics took a dip last year. Yes, he was fourth best in explosive run rate, but this dude was amongst 46 qualifying backs, was 28th in missed tackle rate and 35th in yards after contact per attempt. The Philadelphia Eagles offensive line, and I'm not saying this isn't going to be top five again this year, dude, they were generating almost 4 yards before contact for this guy before he even got contacted. So, like, that's just an insane clip. So, I'm going to lean on the side of, like, look, Saquon's another year older. Volume is piling up. Bijan Robinson is my RB1 this season.
I am very unsurprised that you would have Bijan first. And I actually think by the time we get to August, I might feel the same way. I might even feel the same way now. Like, I am very, very in on Bijan. I am much more surprised to hear that you don't have Saquon in your top three. I viewed this as somewhat of a consensus grouping of top three. Erickson, do you see it the same way, or do you also have one of these guys not in your top three?
Barkley's not in my top three either. So I have Bijan.
Let's go, baby.
I have Gibbs. Although I could see a situation where, because I'm still not exactly sure where I want to finalize Genty's ranking, because he's a rookie running back, but I think that he's in that mix. Again, I try to think about these things a year ahead of time. Where are we drafting Ashton Genty next year? Like, who's more likely to be the number one overall pick next year? Saquon Barkley again or Genty? And if Genty's the answer, then well, why are we drafting Barkley ahead of him this year? Right? He's got to have at least somewhat of a strong year, if not a strong finish. So for me, I right now have Genty as 3, and then the other guy like I'm thinking about is McCaffrey too, right? McCaffrey, again, he's one that's, again, comes with the injury, and I still have him behind Barkley, but is anyone going to be surprised if McCaffrey were to be the number one scoring running back? And if he plays his full allotment of games, if he stays healthy, we know that he can be really productive, if not the number one scoring at his position. So the upside is there. Again, we talk about upside, and then you see McCaffrey fall in some of these drafts into round 2, where McCaffrey has a ton of upside, and he's not coming off, like Debro alluded to. I mean, Saquon Barkley touched the ball almost 500 times last year. This is why we were trying to voice our concerns about McCaffrey, and it's just not McCaffrey. Every running back that leads the NFL in touches the next year, fade. Just following that process works out every single year. And I get that Barkley, maybe you think he's a special running back, but at the same time, he's still an older running back who has dealt with a lot of injuries throughout his NFL career. And again, the thing that could have worked in his favor, they could have banned the tush push. They didn't. It's here to stay. So maybe those touchdowns that maybe could have gone to Barkley maybe saved him from potentially regressing in either rushing efficiency or something else.
It feels like, though, Erickson, the touchdown equity is still higher for him than like a Genty, though, right? Just given the offense he's in?
I mean,
or do you disagree with that?
I mean, with the touchdown equity, you could say the raw touchdowns because of the offensive
that's what I mean.
ecosystem, but like,
no, that's
I don't. Genty's touchdown equity in that offense is, I think it's unequivocally higher.
Yeah, I didn't mean percentage guys. I meant total. So that's maybe the case against Saquon for you guys. Between Bijan and Gibbs, though, D-Bro, like, I wonder if Gibbs is almost getting a little bit of, like, not that he's forgotten, but I feel like the most common name I've heard, if it's not Saquon for number one, is Bijan. Mm-hmm. But Gibbs obviously was a beast to finish last year. He's a beast every time he touches the ball. What for you separates Bijan and Gibbs and has Bijan number one and Gibbs behind him?
David Montgomery. It's as simple as that. With David Montgomery, if he's healthy, if he's on the field, he is going to cut into Jahmyr Gibbs' upside. Like, Gibbs cannot, unless he ends up with like some ridiculous, stupid outlier season of like 24 touchdowns, like he gets into like the low 20s or something, like something crazy happens. If David Montgomery stays healthy the entire season, it will cap Gibbs' upside. Now, I have Gibbs as my RB2 right now. So, again, I don't have him as my RB1 overall, but I think he should be firmly planted in the top 3. And with Saquon falling out of that top 3, somebody has to leap up and take the mantle. So that's why I've got Gibbs as high as I do. But I don't think he has a path to RB1 overall if David Montgomery stays healthy. But Bijan, guys, I mean, it's easy. We've seen him already be the RB1 last year. Like, after the Atlanta Falcons stopped messing around with Tyler Algier and they leaned on the best player in their offense in Bijan Robinson, week 6 through 18, Bijan Robinson was the RB1 in fantasy points per game. So me expecting him to do that again in 2025 is not crazy. And to Erickson's point, if you were to say every single year, the last year's RB1 in fantasy points per game, I'm going to auto fade them because it is a war of attrition and you do not see RBs repeat as the number 1 RB in fantasy. It doesn't happen. You have to go all the way back to like freaking Priest Holmes and such to see a running back repeat that year after year. So you're automatically better as far as your rankings if you are not expecting last year's RB1 in fantasy points per game to repeat the following season.
Feels like Bijan is going to be the number 3 pick in a lot of drafts, and he's going to be like a league winner at that spot. Like I really kind of feel that way. I mean, it's funny because I sometimes am guilty of this, framing in dynasty conversations the conversation around Bijan as like not a disappointment, but almost like the hype was so immense that like he's really, really good, but couldn't quite live up to the hype. Having said that, like he's top 10 finishes both years of his career, even with the lack of touchdowns in year 1. Last year, he had almost 1,500 rushing yards, throw on another 400 receiving yards, 60 catches, 15 total touchdowns. Like, what could you possibly complain about? He's been amazing. And I think anybody watching him would say there's even room for more growth from there. So I think Bijan is going to win leagues this year, especially if you're getting him like 3rd or 4th pick in your drafts. So we all love Bijan. Tier 2 is bigger. And this is, again, kind of in the consensus rankings tier with rankings from experts around the industry, and it runs from RB4 to RB10. Ashton Jeanty, Derrick Henry, Devon Achane, Christian McCaffrey, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Taylor, Bucky Irving. I'll read those again. It's Jeanty, Henry, Achane, McCaffrey, Jacobs, Taylor, and Bucky Irving. So Jeanty is the guy for both of you, right, Erickson, that is currently kicking Saquon out of the top 3?
Yes, that's what I have in there right now because... Look, Ken, going to the historical trends, right? You want to fade the guy that leads the NFL in touches the next year. We've seen a lot of rookie running backs drafted with similar draft capital to Ashton Jeanty, and they end up firing in year 1. It's not a slow burn. They hit the ground running, and given where the Raiders took Jeanty, given the backfield competition or their lack of, I mean, it's really easy to paint the picture of him delivering. I mean, they have a competent quarterback in Geno Smith. Maybe it'd be a different discussion if it was Aiden O'Connell or somebody, a more unproven quarterback, but they have offensive weapons. I get the offensive line is a bit of a concern. I think it's a little bit underrated. I don't think it's the worst offensive line in the NFL. And again, it's new coaching staff too coming in. So what does that mean? Can they improve the run blocking up front? And we know, what does Jeanty do best? Breaks tackles, right? So when they get him out in space, if he's making plays, then it doesn't necessarily matter what the run blocking is doing if Jeanty's getting the ball 300 times and, is able to stay healthy with that type of workload. So I think that the upside is immense with Ashton Jeanty. And it's funny, actually, where you can get him. So we have him ranked inside the top 6, top 7 on Fast Draft. He's a guy you can get in the 2nd round of those Fast Draft best ball drafts. And it's like, if you drafted up, if you don't want to reach on Ashton Jeanty, you feel like you're reaching if you take him in the top 5, then just go on Fast Draft and draft him there. And he's a great price.
So Derrick Henry is RB5. Debro, you and actually Erickson also both have him as RB7. He was RB3 a year ago. It really had like a historic rushing season. It was just overshadowed by Saquon. I'm not sure what's changed. If anything, I think the offensive line is going to be better now that there was a lot of question marks going into Baltimore's offensive line a year ago. We've now seen most of this group together already. There will be a new left guard, but it's going to largely have a lot more continuity than they did a year ago. Lamar is still amazing. He's going to help open up rushing lanes here. Like Derrick Henry has talked openly this offseason about how Baltimore did more for him than he did for them, or at least in his opinion, he felt that way in terms of his great rushing season. And he is a freak of nature who the rules of aging seemingly doesn't apply to. I feel like 5 is maybe fair. It's really hard for me to wrap my head around having him outside the top 5 because he was amazing last year. And if he's healthy this year, he's scoring another 12 touchdowns. He's getting 1,500 rushing yards in a healthy season. I just don't see in this offense anywhere around it. And it's not like they went out and drafted one of these hot shot young rookies coming in. Like, he has all the runway to himself, D-Bro.
Yeah, man. I mean, what it comes down to for Derrick Henry, it just kind of, like, I have CMC as my RB5. It comes down to the pass catching. And I love Derrick Henry. Like, again, he is inside my top 7 running backs on the daily. Like, I bounce him between RB6 and RB7 with Bucky Irving, only because of the pass catching. Like, I don't think there's any fall off coming from Derrick Henry. My question only is, like, what does this season look like if Baltimore's passing attack is any better and the touchdowns go any? Because, I mean, dude, he ran for almost 2,000 yards last year. So is he going to run for any more than that? He had 18 total touchdowns. Is he going to really score more than that? And that only pumped him up to the RB4 in fantasy points per game. So, like, I think he's going to have an amazing season. But if he drops to 16, 1,700 rushing yards and the touchdowns go to 15 or 16, like, that's where I kind of split the difference between the pass catching upside of somebody like McCaffrey, which, dude, I got him as my RB5. I think the bounce back is coming. And this is not shade against Derrick Henry. Again, like, I think Derrick Henry is a locked in RB1 straight up until he decides to hang up the cleats.
I just think that setting aside the possibility for injury, which applies to everybody, setting aside injury-related floor, I think he has the highest floor of any running back. Like, if every running back in the league stayed healthy, I would be most confident in him finishing, like, inside the top 5 over everybody. And I want to toss it to Erickson too, because he also has him ranked 7. But I will just also quickly say on Henry, I don't see any scenario where those short touchdowns turn into passing touchdowns. It's just not the way the Ravens operate. Like, when they are inside the 7-yard line, Henry's getting 2 carries every drive, and he's going to score more often than not, I think. Like, they in close, they are never going to run Lamar in close, and they're not that big on passing in close. They are going to smash it in with Henry the way they did with Gus Edwards before him, the way they did with Henry last year. So I'm really, again, injury aside, I'm so confident that he's going to get close to 15 touchdowns this year. Erickson, you also have him 7th.
Yeah, I think I agree with Debro where it's kind of you're splitting hairs based on some of the guys around him just project a little bit better in the passing game. So Christian McCaffrey, I have Achane ahead of Derrick Henry because when Tua was healthy last year, who was the number 1 scoring running back? It was Devon Achane. He was the highest scoring running back in fantasy points per game. So that matters for me because we talked about how great Derrick Henry was last year and he was RB3, so still not RB1. So I think I agree with you where you're talking about, okay, he's probably not going to finish as the number 1 overall running back. But is he has the highest probability of finishing inside the top 5? Yes. So I think that's kind of where you're making your decision based on, right? I just want to lock in top 5 production. I don't really care about chasing someone that could be the number 1 running back overall, trying to dabble, especially in your format. I mean, obviously in a full PPR, it's hard for him to get there and separate himself from the pack with just, again, he's going to make it tough because he scores so many touchdowns and rushes for so many yards. But it's just tougher for him just because he doesn't catch as many passes as some of the other guys up at the top. And to add another element too, the Ravens were the healthiest offense last year. Like that was a fact. So we're already seeing they already had one of their safeties go down with a potential season-ending injury. So that was on the defensive side of the ball. But if a couple guys get banged up here and there, what if Lamar misses a couple games? Like we've seen that before where he's missed a couple games here and there. Cooper Rush is not going to have the same impact on the defense as Lamar Jackson.
Sure, but if you're making the case for Achane, like I would trust Lamar to stay healthy more than Tua at this point.
Well, Tua was fine in 2023. He didn't miss any games, and Lamar did. So that's what I mean. Like it's just based on what happened last. Like this matters so much because injury regression is a real thing. The Ravens were the healthiest team last year. Like they're going to miss more games.
Ravens were the healthiest team 2 years in a row, actually. So they're
that's
overdue.
Not good.
You're actually building the case against yourself, Worm.
That's not good. So
I think in like full PPR, yeah, like I'd rather have these guys, but in half, I don't think the difference is enough. I would much rather take the floor of Henry over Achane or McCaffrey, frankly.
The only other thing the only other thing I'd like to add about Baltimore too is, and I'm not saying that he takes over a huge part of this offense, but we're talking about, I mean, we're splitting hairs between RB3, 4 versus RB5, 6, 7. The other part of this is Keaton Mitchell is healthy coming into this year. And I'm not saying that he plays a huge monster role, but if he chips away at even some of the touchdown production, like he gets 3 or 4 touchdowns this year that don't go to Henry. He gets a few carries that don't go to Henry. He gets some of the passing work that doesn't go to Henry. This is how Henry is not RB4, but he's RB6 or 7. He's still freaking awesome. But again, this is how all these parts or pieces add up to, okay, maybe he doesn't repeat, which, I mean, dude, if Lamar wasn't in the MVP conversation last year as good as he was last year, Derrick Henry should have been in the conversation right next to Saquon. Like, their numbers are not that different last year.
So, Erickson, do you see this as a tier break then? Because we spent a lot of time talking about Genty, Henry, Achane, Christian McCaffrey, who, if he's healthy, should maybe even be a tier higher. Jacobs, Taylor, and Bucky Irving. I know Debro is a bit higher on Bucky Irving. We'll get to him in a second. But it feels like those three, like, I don't feel a very strong case to be made for taking Jacobs or Taylor ahead of, like, Derrick Henry. So, in that perspective, I'm not sure if they should be in the same tier. Do you see a mini tier break in here, or do you think they at least belong in that same conversation?
I think that you could make a mini tier break here. I mean, this is how I have them ranked. So the guys we just talked about, I have all of them ranked above the guys that are at the bottom of this tier. So I think if you can make a case, I think with Bucky Irving, for example, I mean, he's a second-year running back that smashed in his rookie year. These guys are usually just good bets to make on entering year two. So I'm not going to push against anyone that thinks, oh, Bucky Irving should be in the conversation with the McCaffreys, with the Derrick Henrys because of what he can do and what he showed at the end of last year. So I think it's fine having him ranked behind those guys just because I think he has a little bit more to still, show that he can do and overcome, if Tampa Bay is going to use multiple running backs. Rashad White is still there. For me, the guy that I think is really polarizing is Jonathan Taylor, because I think from a talent perspective, I don't think anyone's going to, debate how great Jonathan Taylor is, but he's had trouble staying healthy over the last couple seasons, and similar to Derrick Henry, where he has issues overcoming how is his pass game usage. But the thing with him is the infrastructure in Indianapolis, half of their offensive line is now in Minnesota, so that's a big problem. We don't know what the quarterback play is going to be like, but we know that these quarterbacks aren't going to dump down the ball to the running back because both guys can use their legs and run around. So Jonathan Taylor, again, guy rushed for, I believe, over 1,400 rushing yards last year, and yet he wasn't a difference maker until he got healthy at the end of the season. So I feel like you're kind of paying up for his floor at this price, and I can't knock where he's ranked, but at the same time, I'm not excited to pay it because I'm like, man, there's so many other ways I could see this going south for Jonathan Taylor. And then what's the upside? You got Jonathan Taylor RB10 right where you drafted him. It's like, I don't like going in just like, hey, it's not going to get better than this. And it goes back to even that year where he was RB1. A lot of the other running backs weren't good that year, and he scored a boatload of touchdowns. Is that going to be the case in 2025 when we have this loaded rookie running back class coming in? We have good veteran running backs, and we don't love the touchdown upside of this Colts offense potentially.
Bucky Irving is the guy for you here, D-Bro.
I mean, dude, I don't understand why we hate Bucky Irving. We talk about, investing in second-year players, whether it's wide receiver or running back. Bucky Irving, once he got the job away from Rashad White, this dude was RB6 in fantasy points per game, yet there's a few guys that we're going to get to as we kind of move down the ranks where it's like, I mean, we not project that Bucky Irving can take a step forward. The Buccaneers, look, we talk about, and Erickson has brought this up on other shows. Okay, Baker Mayfield takes a step back in the passing touchdown department. If the Buccaneers offense is still really freaking good, the touchdown's got to go somewhere, dude. What if they go to Bucky Irving? What if he's this year's guy that he's the James Cook of this year? He ends up with 16, 18 touchdowns in this offense. Mike Evans can't stay healthy. Chris Godwin is not fully healthy for most of the year. We're looking at an offense that has K-Dot and Jalen McMillan. They're running the ball through Bucky Irving, and he's blown it up in the passing game, dude. It's like Rashad White was really good, but if Irving gets more of this backfield this year, or he reproduces the numbers that he had last year, or the touchdowns go elsewhere, I mean, Bucky Irving's the guy that I want to be above consensus. I have him at RB6, and again, right above Derrick Henry, but he's the guy that could he have the run out this year where he scores just a ton of freaking touchdowns and he crushes expectation.
Let's go to the next tier here. It goes from RB11 to RB17. This is Kyren Williams, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, James Cook, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, Alvin Kamara. Again, that's Kyren, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, James Cook, Joe Mixon, Kenneth Walker, and Kamara. I want to ask you, Erickson, about Breece Hall, because this was the guy last year for you, a running back who could finish his RB1 and be the number one pick a year from now, and you're very excited about, and I'm not blaming you for your process that led you to that point, but obviously it didn't end up panning out that way. Do you see him as a bounce-back candidate, given how high you were on him a year ago, or do you think this is an appropriate range, if not maybe even a little too high?
I think it's the appropriate range for Breece Hall. I think that there's so much to like about, and there's still things I really like about Breece Hall, because I think that he's a super young, explosive running back that can catch passes. Just betting on that archetype of player is usually a good bet to make. But then you have to layer in the circumstances that he's in. He's in a contract year with a brand new coaching staff that has no allegiance to him as the clear-cut RB1. Now, I think it's no debate who the most talented running back is in that backfield, but I don't know what Aaron Glenn is going to necessarily do. Like, the minute he gets there, he's talking about, all right, we want to use all three running backs. It's like, okay, I guess Isaiah Davis is a thing now. After he showed out a little bit at the end of last year, Braylon Allen, very efficient on like 3rd and 1 last year. And the thing with Breece Hall that always frustrates me is he's a guy that constantly tries to hit the home run, and that pisses his coaches off sometimes, where they're like, dude, just get the 3rd and 1. Just get the first down. You don't need to get an 80-yard touchdown. And Breece Hall, again, when you play in the Jets and you're one of their best players, you feel this obligation, like, I have to score on every play or else we're never going to score any points. So that's my concern with Hall. And the fact that, yes, with Justin Fields, you're excited about, okay, he's going to open up these wide lanes because of the mobile quarterback. But in a case where, like, compared to Derrick Henry, it's great for Derrick Henry because, well, he's not going to catch passes anyway, so we don't really care. But Breece Hall, one of his best traits is as a pass catcher. And now if you're taking those out, he was 3rd in targets per game last year with Aaron Rodgers. There's no way he's going to be anywhere near that this year with Fields. So there's a couple of knocks on him that I do have concerns about, and that's why he's ranked, I think, below, not where he nearly as high as he was last year, where he was talked about basically in tier 1. So I like to bet on the players when it comes down to it, but I think that this situation, yes, even in a run-heavy offense, could he get a lot of carries? Yeah. But how many points is that actually going to translate into fantasy? Where we're talking about Jonathan Taylor, he's not going to catch a lot of passes. Derrick Henry, he may not catch that many passes. So when you're banking, okay, he's got to get rushing touchdowns and rushing yards playing for the Jets to be an RB1. I'm like, I don't love that. So I'm probably just going to be in line with consensus with him. I don't think he'll be a flat-out fade for me, but it's tough for me to be like overly confident just based on some of the optics of the situation with Breece Hall.
Debra, who's the guy for you here that's too low?
Why do we hate Kenneth Walker? Can somebody explain this to me? Like, what? Kenneth Walker goes out last year and he's the RB12 in fantasy points per game. He crushes in efficiency metrics. Like, this guy was 3rd in first downs per route run, 6th in targets per route run, 6th in receiving yards per game. Proves he's a true 3-down running back, because I'm old enough to, again, I'm old, so I remember when people said Kenneth Walker couldn't catch passes. He proves last year he's not only an RB1, but he is a true 3-down running back. This is his backfield when he is healthy. They go out, make improvements to the offensive line. They're going to run the ball more this year, and yet Kenneth Walker isn't even ranked where he finished last year. Why? I don't understand that, guys. I really don't.
Isn't it funny? 3 years ago, you guys had a cage match, Breece Hall versus Kenneth Walker. Here we are 3 years later. Erickson's talking about Breece Hall and Debra's talking about Kenneth Walker. Time is a flat circle. The more things change, the more they stay the same. So for you, Debra, because I like Walker a lot too, is this a scenario where you think he should be like at the top of this tier replacing Kyren Williams, or do you think he's more like in a different tier and not only shouldn't be at the bottom of this tier, but should be a tier ahead?
I have him in tier 2. He's my RB8 of the season. So all I'm projecting is that he takes a small step. For everybody that thinks that's crazy, he was the RB12 last year in fantasy points per game. I'm just projecting that he takes a small step forward, man. Like, he stays healthy. This offense is any better. He gets more rushing volume. He breaks explosive runs because the offensive line is better this year because, good Lord, it can't be any worse than it was last year, really. So he is way too low in ranks, man. Like, this all leads to, I'm going to be drafting a ton of Kenneth Walker, and I'm totally out. Like, I'm not full fade. I'm not drafting Kyren Williams this year.
It's funny. I was very heavily fading Kyren a year ago, and it didn't play out well for me. So I see a lot of the cases to do it again this year, but I also got burned by fading him a year ago. So I'm like, emotionally, can I go down that path again? What's the case for fading him, Debra? Because I think I do agree with you.
I mean, right now, Erickson already brought this up. If your best case scenario is you're just hoping that the player does what they did last year in their rankings and stuff, then what are we doing here? You're not betting on upside. You're just saying, please don't lose value. Please get all the carries. You're not catching passes because that narrative just needs to just go away. all of the Kyren Williams is a good pass. Dude, we have not seen Kyren Williams catch passes in the NFL over the last 2 years when he's been a freaking RB1. It does not happen. Matthew Stafford does not check down. And Kyren Williams, I mean, the reason I'm fading him is I think there is a legitimate, serious threat to him in this backfield. No, it is not Blake Corum. It is Jarquez Hunter. I was not worried about Blake Corum last year. I wasn't in on Blake Corum as a prospect, man. He had tons of red flags as a player. That if you looked at his 2022 tape to 2024, yes, there were injuries, but his tackle breaking metrics dropped in every single season he was in college outside of the freaking counting stats. And so this year, the Rams go back to the well. They added an explosive player in Jarquez Hunter to this backfield. And I hate to tell everybody that loves Kyren Williams, I don't hate the player. I hate the ADP. I hate the rank on him. I have him as a RB2. I think there is a possibility he still leads this backfield in overall touches, but Jarquez Hunter is going to make noise. He is the guy in this backfield that is different than Blake Corum, than Kyren Williams. You cannot expect either one of those guys to break an explosive run. That is the name of the game for Jarquez Hunter. And I mean, Kyren, dude, like it's too much leaning on. He has to repeat this Rachaad White stranglehold on all of the volume for a player that was first in snap share, second in opportunity share, and freaking first in red zone touches. So pick your poison here. The Rams pass more in the red zone. Jarquez Hunter eats into his volume. He's still not getting pass game work. So what's the out for Kyren Williams, man? He's just basically Jonathan Taylor on a different team? Nah, no thank you.
Erickson, quickly pick one more name that you want to talk about here. It can be a follow-up on Kyren or Walker. It can be a name we haven't mentioned. One more quick thought on this tier.
Well, I don't think the grave can be dug any deeper on Kyren Williams from what D-Row just said.
I got an extra shovel for you, Erickson. Come on.
I think you did enough. I think the because I'm also lower on Kyren Williams for the reason. I feel like it's Groundhog Day. It's like another year I'm going to fade Kyren Williams. See what works out. Like we don't know, but I do think the extra backfield competition. Again, I still like Blake Corum, but the fact that now you have two running backs, like. It's Corum and Jarquez. He has to be better than both those guys. And if you look at his advanced rushing metrics last year, you know who they look exactly like? Najee Harris. And people do not rave about Najee Harris in any way, shape, or form as a rusher. So that's just my point on Kyren. The guy I want to talk about, who I also have in a tier above, is Chase Brown. Because when we're talking about ceiling, we're talking about potential role. I don't expect Chase Brown to get the same type of workload he got in the second half of last year. Obviously, the Bengals had a bunch of injuries. But the fact that the Bengals trusted him enough to... This guy can be our 80% snap share running back. He's still going to play 65% plus of the snaps. You have Samaje Perine sprinkling or some of the other running backs. And he also plays on the Bengals, arguably the best offense in the NFL. We're talking about who could score 15 plus touchdowns. And it's not T. Higgins, who also gets hurt all the time. Oh, Chase Brown could be the guy that's scoring a bunch of touchdowns, both as a receiver out of the backfield, getting reps at the goal line. So, I just love Chase Brown. Like, that's the guy I am circling as the person that I want to get because I think that he has, again, if things break his way, I mean, he was the RB1 in terms of usage last year. So if he scores more touchdowns, is efficient, and we know he's explosive, he's a 3-down back. So, Chase Brown for me is someone I want to highlight. It's someone that I'm going to be drafting a lot of.
It is officially the best time of year for hoops fans. Playoff drama, buzzer beaters, all the chaos we live for. And if you're done just watching and ready to actually win some cash, you got to check out Pick 6 from DraftKings. Nobody's dropping better payouts than Pick 6. Hit 6 picks, and that's 25 times your cash. And if you beat your competition, you could be looking at a 500 times bag in your pocket. It's super simple. Select your picks, track your score, and go for those big-time prizes. No gimmicks, just straight-up fun. Pick 6 is live in most states like Missouri, California, Texas, Georgia, and plenty more. So yeah, don't settle for weak payouts. Make your picks with Pick 6 and let your basketball brain pay off. New to DraftKings Pick 6, new customers toss in just $5 on your first entry, and you'll get $50 in bonus picks instantly. The playoffs are on, so why not take a shot at making a little money while you're watching? Download the DraftKings Pick 6 app right now. Use code FANTASYPROS. That's code FANTASYPROS to play $5. Get $50 in bonus picks, better payouts, bigger wins, only on Pick 6 from DraftKings. The crown is yours. I think I will be drafting from the Tier 3 running back group more this year than in previous years because there are a number of names that I like the values there. There are some I don't, but there are a number of names I like there. Tier 4, I think outside of the rookies, I will be avoiding a lot of these names. Just to quickly run through them, this is a much bigger tier, goes from RB18 to RB28. Chuba Hubbard, James Conner, David Montgomery, Omarion Hampton, Aaron Jones, RJ Harvey, Travion Henderson, Tony Pollard, DeAndre Swift, Quinshon Judkins, Isaiah Pacheco. Again, that's Hubbard, Connor, Montgomery, Hampton, Jones, Harvey, Henderson, Pollard, Swift, Judkins, Pacheco. Debro, you spent a lot of time with these rookies during the lead up to the draft process. Obviously, you are a very big fan of some of these guys, particularly RJ Harvey. Of these rookies, again, and that's Hampton at 21, Harvey at 23, Henderson at 24, and Judkins at 27. Who are you targeting amongst those 4 rookies? But we know it's RJ Harvey. I just have to ask you a question. I have to
I'm leading off with RJ Harvey.
Yes.
I mean, dude, I've got RJ Harvey as a locked-in top 15 back this year, and everybody that wants to even bring up Audric Estime or Jaleel McLaughlin into the conversation, dude, like, did you not see last year? They couldn't even carve out definitive roles next to Javonte, the ghost of Javonte Williams. You think they're doing that with the running back that the Denver Broncos drafted in the 2nd round of the NFL draft, and Sean Payton has continually praised in the process, and say what you want, man, but, like, kid's got talent. Kid can play. Payton's going to target the running backs. I'm sorry, like, anybody touting Audric Estime and Jaleel McLaughlin as a true threat to RJ Harvey's workload, it just comes down to you're just trying to confirm that you had RJ Harvey too low in your pre-draft ranks. That's all it is. But outside of RJ Harvey, Travion is going to be definitely one of my big targets this year. I've moved further and further closer to Erickson in. Not that I'm fading Omarion Hampton, but I have moved him down my rankings. Like, I've got him moved down to RB25 because I do think that there's probably a very realistic possibility that Najee Harris is not going to go away for many, many weeks, and he is going to play into this backfield. So I've moved more of my rankings in that direction. But Travion Henderson, man, pick whichever narrative you want to go with. Pick whichever lane that you feel like is going to explain his role in this offense the best. Like, pass game upside with McDaniels. Okay, check. Ramondre Stevenson has not been efficient. He's had fumbling problems. Okay, check. They don't have a lot of pass game options. We're hearing Stephon Diggs might not be ready to go week 1. Okay, well, who you feel good in that passing game? Is it Kyle Williams? Well, it's not Jalen Polk. It's not Javon Baker. Hunter Henry is your wide receiver 1 of this offense? Oh, okay. Travion's getting a crap ton of checkdowns. Got it. Okay, good. Let's go. So I think it's Travion if it's not RJ Harvey in this tier. And I'm going to also make one shout, although we're going to get to him in a little bit. Somebody explain to me why Caleb Johnson is not in this tier. Because dude, ranking Isaiah Pacheco, Quinshon Judkins, DeAndre Swift, even freaking Tony Pollard and Aaron Jones above Caleb Johnson it's close to insanity to me.
Caleb Johnson, for the record, is the number 1 name atop the next tier. So he is the guy. He's RB29. Crazy. We only went through RB28. But yes, he is in a separate tier from these other guys in thinking about the rookies. Erickson, looking at the rookies, how do you break it down in terms of who you want to be targeting? I feel like Hampton is somebody that is going to be a frustrating player to play early. But if and when he takes over the backfield around Halloween, I don't know when that will be. It might not even be this year if they just really trust Najee Harris. But if it happens, there's incredible upside here. So I feel like he's somebody that I will want to be targeting as long as I have crafted a roster such that I don't need him to be a star in September, because I don't think he will be. But I think he could be in the fantasy playoffs.
Yeah, but that makes it a tough sell when you have to draft him in round 4. Like, that's a starter. Yeah. That's the concern that you have, where you're going to start Omarion Hampton week 1. Probably. I mean,
already ranked as a top 24 back.
Is he
top 24 back?
Is he going in round 4?
I mean, if he's a top 24 running back.
I mean, he's a top 24 running back. He's going what? What's the base? Like round 5?
That sounds
like even if he dips some. I mean, yeah.
So
yeah, his ADP is even higher than ECR, by the way. His ADP is in the teens.
So
you're definitely right.
Yeah. So I feel similar to Debro with Omarion Hampton, where again I want his exposure to many of these rookie running backs because there's going to be a lot of big hits within this group. But again, you can't draft them all. And when you're considering the prices, well, you just take all the guys that weren't first-round picks. Yes, we love the fact that Omarion Hampton was a first-round pick. We love the fact that he's on the Chargers and a run-heavy offense. But you don't love the fact that Najee Harris doesn't miss games, doesn't fumble, and coaches trust him. Like, that's like the worst thing. That's like the worst thing to have if you're a rookie running back, because the path is like Ramondre, it's easy. Like, he's going to fumble the job away. Like, Travion Henderson slated. You have RJ Harvey with the guy, McLaughlin, Estime, like non-established guys. They're paying Najee Harris more money in free agency than any other running back. Like, I get that he didn't make that much money, but relative to every other veteran running back, Najee Harris had the best contract in free agency, and he made more money than J.K. Dobbins did last year, who was their RB1. And there's still a chance that J.K. Dobbins comes back to the Chargers. So what happens if it's a three-headed monster now with Wormeli and Hampton? So that becomes a concern for me. So I would rather just wait a little bit longer, get some of these other rookie running backs. And Worm, to your point, I know that when you first opened up this tier, you talked about, I really like this tier. I'm going to be drafting a lot from this tier. But then you correct yourself by saying the rookies, because usually this is like the dead zone tier where you don't want to draft a lot of running backs. I just wanted to add that layer because you have a lot of guys where projected volume, you're looking at early season success where you could see them, James Conner, Chuba Hubbard, where, okay, week one, you feel good about them, but how does it go down the stretch? We know James Conner has dealt with a ton of injuries. I love Trey Benson as a second-year running back to buy because I think he could have a bigger role, especially if James Conner gets banged up. So just some thoughts on the other running backs that are not rookies in this tier, because I agree, you want to be targeting the young guys in this particular range, not necessarily the veterans, because I think that when you go down the list, you're going to find, okay, I think I could probably make do with some of these other running backs that really aren't that much different from the ones that are up in this tier.
Also, something I wanted to hit on real fast, going back to just with Amari and Hampton real fast. Erickson and I have talked about, as we've kind of gone through the running backs and stuff, what's the pass game outlet for Amari and Hampton too, or any running back in this backfield? So like if Najee does stay as a thorn in the side, like say even Amarian gets the 65%, we're discussing an offense that last year, like, dude, outside of Lad McConkey, who the heck are you throwing the ball to? And they still didn't target the running backs. The only team that had a lower running back target share was the freaking Los Angeles Rams. So even if you're talking about for Amari and Hampton, like his absolute pure run out is as a Jonathan Taylor, Kyron Williams type of clone for the Chargers, where he gets all the volume, all the touches, hardly any pass game usage, and all the touchdowns.
You know, it's really like this. I'm really fascinated by this Chargers offense this year because I think there's a lot of assumptions about like Greg Roman, but they threw the ball a lot more in the second half last season. There's assumptions about running backs in the passing game, but like Dobbins and Gus Edwards have never really been pass catchers in the NFL. I know Dobbins did it more in college, but like I'm just really fascinated. Like I don't have a lot of strong opinions on this offense this year. Other than that, I think it'll be pretty good. I'm really curious to see the shape that it takes. The last thing I'll say on Hampton is, to me, this is a great example of a guy that you don't draft, but you try to buy low on in like week 7. I want to be trading for him for the stretch run and taking that upside swing if he has a slow start because of Najee Harris. Debra, just last thoughts on this tier. Any veterans that stand out as too high or too low, just quickly?
Aaron Jones, dude, career high in touches. He stayed healthy. Adding Jordan Mason, who's going to play in this backfield because Ty Chandler sucks and was never a part of the backfield. I mean, freaking Cam Akers beat him out last year as the RB2. So Aaron Jones, I can't draft at RB22 right now. I can't do it. Tony Pollard, I feel like in this tier, he's the undervalued guy. I know there's been a little bit of talk coming out of the Tennessee Titans camp about Tajay Spears playing more into this backfield. That's fine. I think Tony Pollard is still going to be the clear workhorse, 60 to 65% snap guy. He's going to get the red zone touches. And look, Tennessee, can he get much worse than being the Mason Rudolph and Will Levis show last year? If Cam Ward is like any semblance of good this year, Tony Pollard, who was an RB2 last year, could vault up the rankings. So out of the veteran guys in this tier, yeah, I think Tony Pollard is definitely a little bit undervalued.
Erickson, any last thoughts on this tier?
I just wanted to quickly mention, so the last veteran in this tier is Isaiah Pacheco. And I'm just curious where do you think that he would be ranked if he never came back last season? And all we had was him getting a monster workload to start the year, breaks his leg, doesn't come back. Because I think that his current ranking is so heavily influenced on how he looked so bad because he was coming off a broken leg. And we saw this with Tony Pollard. He came off a broken leg and then looked terrible. So I think it's almost like an overcorrection where the first couple of weeks, Isaiah Pacheco was looking like he was going to be a league winner. I know we were talking about Rashee Rice as a potential league winner, and then he got hurt, but Pacheco was seeing, there was no Kareem Hunt. Like, he wasn't part of the equation whatsoever. So that's something I'm trying to keep in mind. Now, will Pacheco ever get back to his form? I mean, it's more likely that he's back to his form now than he was at the end of last year when they were trying to make a Super Bowl run. So I'm keeping the light on for Pacheco. He's still a young running back and more time removed from the injury. I just want to be open to I don't know how you guys feel about it, and like me presenting that question to you. Like, I think that he probably.
I think I think it's a great point, honestly. Like I think you are making Pacheco is somebody that I feel down on.
Yep.
And I think it's a very fair it's not even like a critique by you. It's just it's an important question to ask, right? Like how would we be framing this if we didn't have that comeback last year, which might have been rushed because of the Super Bowl aspirations. So like I don't know where I will come down. I think Pacheco is somebody that I could see myself ranking very differently now versus the end of August. But I think it's a good question to ask, Debra.
I think he'd be around the same spot, and I'll say this, my Pacheco ranking, I have him at RB31, so I'm almost like in lockstep with ECR here. My Pacheco ranking it is not related to how he looked last year. It's the muddiness of this backfield. It's the fact that Kareem Hunt showed that he can be a volume guy. It's the fact that they did add Elijah Mitchell. It's the fact that a guy that we're going to maybe talk about, maybe not in this episode, but we've already discussed like in the NFL draft process, I think Rashard Smith is going to make noise in this backfield as the new Jerick McKinnon. So I don't think we see Pacheco go back into what we saw before the injury last year. It's a possibility, but I think with all the bodies in this backfield, I think that it's more likely this is a 2 or 3-way possible committee, and I think that's what it is affecting his ranking and why I have him ranked where I do. More so over ineffectiveness, injury, all that kind of stuff.
We are definitely not talking about Rashard Smith on our top 50 running backs episode. He's RB 91. I like him.
Well,
actually, but
yeah, that's way too low.
He's currently in ECR for redraft behind such names as Alexander Madison.
That is ridiculous.
Kamani Vidal.
Rashard
Sincere
Smith
McCormick. Sean Tucker.
My lock in every single 5th round rookie dynasty
Rashard
draft.
Smith is my RB 50. Put some respect on his name, ECR. Get with it.
Next tier here, another big one, so I'll run through the names quickly. From RB29 to RB41, Caleb Johnson, Brian Robinson Jr., Tyrone Tracy Jr., Jalen Warren, Najee Harris, Ramondre Stevenson, Travis Etienne, Zach Charbonnet, Javonte Williams, Tank Bigsby, Cam Scatterbo, Tajay Spears, and Jordan Mason. Again, you can follow along fantasypros.com/rankings to kind of be looking at those rankings, since I know that's a lot of names. We know Debra has Caleb Johnson not only at the top, but should be a tier ahead. There's a lot of names here that I just like. Maybe they fit under the category of like boring veterans that are going to provide value at the end of the day, but I just don't want a lot of these names. I will say, and Erickson, I'm curious your opinion. I know he has not looked good since the injury. There is a lot of touches to be had in the Dallas backfield, and I wonder if Javonte Williams is a screaming value at RB37, even if it feels gross to draft him.
I think I'm there. With you, Worm. I'm kind of interested in Javonte Williams.
I'm there.
It's interesting. I was actually doing some deep diving on Javonte Williams specifically, and it reminded me so much of this time last year when I was doing the same deep diving on J.K. Dobbins. Like, who did the surgery? Like, what happened?
It's very Dobbins-esque. That's a great call.
Just trying to figure out what's going on with this guy. And I even came to the conclusion. So last year, it was Sean Payton that was saying that he looked back to his old self, not Javonte Williams. This year, it's Javonte Williams saying, I feel like my old self. So maybe that means absolutely nothing. I just thought it was noteworthy. I just wanted to bring it up. But the opportunity is there in Dallas. He's still only 25 years old, so he's still a relatively young running back. It can't get worse than it was last year. And you remember last year, we were talking about him getting cut from the Denver Broncos. Him and Sean Payton never saw eye to eye. So even if Javonte had been fully healthy, was looking explosive, I don't know if it ever was going to fit. Again, Sean Payton inherited Javonte Williams. He didn't go out and go, he's not RJ Harvey. Like, Sean Payton went out and got RJ Harvey. He inherited Javonte Williams. So, again, it was the best of a overall lackluster group of running backs. He still caught a bunch of passes. They trust him as a blocker. He's going to be used on passing downs, catching passes from Dak Prescott, catching dump-off passes from Dak Prescott. And it's Miles Sanders and Jaden Blue, who, yes, is a very exciting rookie that can make big plays, but not someone that is viewed as, oh, this guy can operate on all 3 downs. So, yeah, I think that if we're trying to figure out who could be this year's J.K. Dobbins, I think Javonte Williams checks off a lot of boxes. And as I dove deeper into my research for him, I actually found out the reason why he signed with Dallas was the Dallas Cowboys' new running back coach, Derek Foster, actually called Javonte Williams and was like, hey, I've been watching you since college, since North Carolina. Like, I want you to be on the Dallas Cowboys. And that was like, Javonte's like, sign me up. Like, someone that believes in me, which I don't think ever was the case with Sean Payton. Again, we saw it. Like, he was constantly in the doghouse, and you don't get rumored to be a cut candidate as a lead running back on your team if you're not seeing eye to eye with your head coach. So yeah, Javonte, consider me in at RB37.
I've got.
I will be ranking him ahead of RB37. I guarantee it. D-Bro, go ahead.
You want to talk about the deep dive on Javonte Williams? I haven't tweeted this out. I haven't put this out anywhere, man. I went down I went down a rabbit hole the other night about stats on Javonte Williams. This will blow some people's minds here. Okay, so last year with Javonte Williams, he hit a wall, and if you look at his week by week stats, it's insane, dude. From weeks 1 through 8, his missed tackle rate was actually good, man. Like, so in that sample, so weeks 1 through 8, amongst 43 qualifying running backs, Javonte Williams had a 20% missed tackle rate, which was 13th amongst 43 qualifying running backs. Now, after week 8, bro hit a cliff. He did not force a missed tackle for the rest of the season. The rest of the season. So you're talking about a guy that was coming off injury, still wasn't himself. In the first 8 games of the season, a 20% missed tackle rate. The rest of the season, boof! 0! Goose egg! Nothing. If another year past the injury, if he looks like the guy from weeks 1 through 8, yeah, this is this year's J.K. Dobbins. I'm in it. I mean,
it's so easy to just sit here and say the Dallas Cowboys, who are an offense that we think is going to be good on some level, they have 1 running back inside the top 50. They only have 2 inside the top 70. Miles Sanders is like in the RB70s. If you think Javonte Williams' fantasy value is dead, Miles Sanders' fantasy value is dead. He's completely cooked. And then the only other guy inside the top 70 is Blue, who's not even inside the top 50 and doesn't appear to be a full-time player. I think Blue is a good player, but like there is just like Javonte would have to be the worst running back in the sport to not take advantage of this. And maybe he is that if he really doesn't break any tackles for the second half of this season, not a single one. But he will have so much of a runway. It's insane. And there is no way that, and I say healthy with air quotes, but that a healthy Javonte Williams is not a top 36 running back. There's no way.
I don't disagree. And one other thing that I think that people are missing about Jaden Blue, yes, you can categorize him as a passing down back based off of, okay, he was a really good receiving option. To Erickson's point, I think we are missing the boat on who is going to play actually on passing downs, in the sense that Jaden Blue, like for the instance that people talk about him as a passing down back just because of the receiving stuff and running routes, dude, Texas never trusted him in pass protection. This guy had 44 across all of college, 44 career pass blocking snaps, and in that small sample, he allowed 4 pressures and 2 sacks. You're telling me that Schottenheimer and company are going to allow him or trust this guy in pass protection from the word go? Heck, if not the rest of the season, Javonte is going to be that guy. So our characterization of Jaden Blue is probably even wrong, in the sense that if he's doing anything out the gate, it's probably as a change of pace guy on early downs and not playing on passing downs.
I think I'm looking right. So right now he's RB37. The names ahead of him: Charbonnet, Etienne, Ramondre, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Tyrone Tracy Jr., Brian Robinson Jr.
He's in the handcuff.
I'm gonna be ranking Javonte ahead of it, like 5 or 6 of those names. Like easy.
I just bumped him up to RB32.
I was gonna say I think I might have him inside the top 30 by the end of draft season.
Yep.
Just I don't see a path to him not. If he plays all 17 games, I don't see a path to him not being a top 30 running back in this offense.
Yeah, screw it. I just bumped him up to RB30.
Let's go. Let's not get carried away, boy. Like,
I'm not saying
he's RB. It's an RB3 price tag. I didn't say I made him RB20.
Would you rather have him or Charbonnet, who's a backup, or Travis Etienne, who was terrible last year, or Ramondre Stevenson, who I think his job's going to get taken by Henderson?
You can't make the argument that Etienne was horrible last year when so was Javonte was also horrible last
year. I thought you
might
say that.
All right, would you rather him or Tyrone Tracy?
Oh no, I'd rather have him than Tyrone Tracy.
Well, there you go. There you go.
I wanted to ask, actually, because you mentioned Tracy. There's a lot of pairs in the same backfield in this tier. We have Tracy and Scadaboo are both in this tier. We have Etienne and Bigsby are both in this tier. There's a lot of, Jalen Warren and Najee Harris, former pair, not anymore in the same backfield. A lot of players who are the 1A or the 2 in their backfield, or they're both in this tier. How are you guys parsing through some of these pairs, D-Bro, between like a Scadaboo and a Tracy, or between an Etienne and a Bigsby?
So the entire Jacksonville backfield is basically inside of my top like 40 to 45 players, because before camp, we have no freaking clue. I think ETN will be the lowest guy out of all that. Bashal Tootin will be the top guy, but he's like, they're right next to each other, like him and Tank. I've got Scattaboo. Like, there is a chasm. Like, I got Tyrone Tracy at RB 44. I got Scattaboo at RB 32. For everybody in the draft process that said I hated Scattaboo, like, dude, I had a lot of questions about his draft capital, where he went. I think it is incredibly telling, not only that he goes to the Giants, but that he got better draft capital than freaking Tyrone Tracy did last year. And the fumbles were a problem with Tyrone Tracy. I think Scattaboo can be their volume guy. So looking at all these different backfields, man, like, yeah, I want to be above consensus on Scattaboo. And again, like going back to Caleb Johnson, he shouldn't be in this tier. He is the clear guy. Like, Najee Harris got 299 touches last year. Caleb Johnson, what's the floor, guys? 250? 240? Like, I mean, honestly, I think the floor is probably 250, but am I wrong here?
You're preaching to the choir. I love Caleb Johnson.
I think that he's in the perfect offense for his skill set. Like, he was so landing spot dependent, because if he went to a different, not like the wide zone type of scheme, he would have been terrible. And it would have been like, oh my God, what is this team doing? Because he has to build up his speed. Again, when we first did the running back rookie episode that I was on, I was like, Caleb Johnson looks like Derrick Henry. Like, that's who I compared him to, because his running style is so similar to that, where he's got to build up speed, and that fits so well in Arthur Smith's offense, who knows a thing or two about Derrick Henry. So,
yeah, we've referenced it before on this show. I've referenced it before, but it's Nate Tice is the one who said, "Honey, I Shrunk Derrick Henry." It was his comp for Caleb Johnson, and it's just so easy to see the stylistic match. Erickson, any other thoughts on some of these pairs, like Tyrone Tracy versus Scattaboo, Bigsby versus ETN?
So I also have Scattaboo over Tyrone Tracy, because Tracy, to me, so he really fell off at the end of last year. So it was after the bye week. He was PFF's fourth worst graded running back. So we didn't see as much of the explosiveness at the end of the season. He kind of fell off, and he has fumble issues. Again, going back to how easy is the path for this other running back to take over, the Giants' current coaching staff and regime are playing for their jobs every single week. The minute that Tyrone Tracy puts the ball on the ground, you're concerned about, do we trust this guy? Devin Singletary is also lingering around. So those types of, like, they're going to put whoever they trust the most with the ball to get it done. And if there's any doubt about Tyrone Tracy, well, they're going to find other ways to try to have a different running back on the field. So that's my concern about Tyrone Tracy. So I think that he is overvalued. I think that the better bet is just to take the cheaper running back. Again, with these ambiguous backfields, don't be overconfident that you immediately know what's going to happen. In a lot of the cases, yes, me and D-Row have Scattaboo over Tyrone Tracy, but we're also telling you Tyrone Tracy's probably going to get drafted first. But we're telling you with our rankings, just wait to take the value when it comes to you. And if you're wrong, okay, well, that's how it was drafted. So you it's not as big of a hit on your draft capital when you're actually constructing your team. So again, I think value is still the name of the game. That's kind of why I push back with Javonte. It's like the reason J.K. Dobbins was great last year is because he was cheap. If he had been like a 5th round pick, and yes, he would have been really good at the beginning of the year, but there was a reason why we're like, sell J.K. Dobbins. Like, that was the reason we were talking about it. So like Javonte starts out really hot, sell Javonte Williams for Omarion Hampton. Like, that's going to be a trade that we're going to try to convince people to make. So that's something to keep in mind when you're looking at when these prices fluctuate as we get closer to August, how you're going to approach these players. Again, because most likely we're not going to see like any absolute studs unless they're rookie running backs. So you want to flip the veterans, get some of this rookie upside. As for Jacksonville's backfield, again, I don't think anybody has the Da Vinci Code of exactly how this is going to shake out. I always have a soft spot for ETN, and Tank Bigsby is someone that I continuously fade. I think I might just do the same thing again and just fade Tank Bigsby year 3. The thing with ETN that I can't just get out of my mind is he has Trevor Lawrence's trust. And I think that still matters from a real life perspective, where if Trevor Lawrence wasn't there, I would have really no hope about ETN. But he's been a running back that's been a top 5 fantasy running back before. Neither Tank Bigsby has done that. And as much as I love Bashal Tootin, he has not done that either. And he also has fumbling. I mean, ETN, the 2 guys behind him both have fumbling issues. So I just don't think we can just completely write off ETN, because what if he does he stays on the team, he's the day 1 starter in a Liam Cohen offense that can catch passes. Like, okay, maybe we're too low on ETN. And again, how many years ago was Josh Jacobs, right? Playing in a contract year. Fade him. And then he smashed. Why would they? Hey, let's run ETN into the ground. So I'm just trying to play through the different scenarios. I think Jacksonville's backfield is worth taking shots on, but for me, it's mostly on ETN and Tootin as the 2 guys I'm gravitating towards. But I'll admit, like, it's not something I'm like oh, I'm super confident. I think that we're going to get more news about it. And if Etienne gets traded, then that obviously opens up things for Bigsby and Tootin.
We got to move to the next tier because we're running long. But I do just want to quickly point out, I like Jordan Mason a lot if he's going outside the top 40 running backs. And I don't think either of you two are going to quibble with the ranking for Brian Robinson Jr. But if he really is, I mean, they didn't draft a running back till round 7. They are, entering year 2 with this elite young quarterback, theoretically taking a step forward. If Brian Robinson is the lead back in this offense, like I could see a real path to like 1,200 yards and 12 touchdowns this season, and looking like I'm not saying he should be ranked too much higher than he is, but RB30 is fair, and I think there's real ceiling that you're getting with that ranking.
I love that you brought up B-Rob real fast, Worm, because how we kind of frame the conversation around Isaiah Pacheco is how I feel about Brian Robinson Jr., except he has less competition. Like, if he is the goal line back, like in the 10 games that he played 40% or more of the snaps, this dude was near the top in like 10 zone carries and stuff like that. So the touchdown upside is massive there for Washington.
Yeah, I really enjoyed. I had him a lot last year, and it paid off well in the first season with Jane Daniels when he was on the field, when Robinson was on the field. So I'll probably be doing it again.
Wait, so you guys don't love DeAndre Swift?
No,
no.
I would.
You want to talk about guys I'll continue to fade and happily do so? DeAndre Swift, come on down, baby, let's go.
Last tier here. We'll go quickly on this one. Rashad White, Rico Dowdle, Ray Davis, Trey Benson, Austin Eckler, Tyler Algier, Isaac Guerrero, Bashal Tootin, and Jalen Wright. The second-year running backs are kind of the ones that stand out to me here. Erickson, I know you mentioned Trey Benson as a guy. I mean, Ray Davis is a backup, but I love the idea of him if, James Cook ever ends up missing any time. He seems like a good investment. Guerendo, we know what's happened with CMC in the past. So I think the second-year running backs, to me, Erickson, stand out.
Yeah, those traditionally are one of the best bets to make, especially when they don't do anything as rookies. So it's not the same thing with receiver. Rookie receivers that don't hit are usually really bad investment sophomores. That's the opposite with running backs. I think that they're all going at, it's worth it to go after it. Trey Benson, it's explosive. James Conner, I just don't think that he's going to be able to stay healthy like he did last year. Again, I think he's one of these veteran running backs where he's going to get hurt by, very injury fortunate last year, maybe not so much this season. I think Trey Benson's going to take advantage. And he had good coach speak. Jonathan Gannon was talking about. They know who he is on the roster. That's always a positive, that this third-round rookie running back, that they still remember who he is, and he's not like, oh, yeah, that guy. No, he's like someone that's actually top of mind. So I like him and Ray Davis, too, because James Cook's holding out, right? So does he hold out into offseason? We've seen all these holdouts the last couple of years, and it's been disastrous for the most part for a lot of these guys. Missing time, they get hurt. And James Cook last year, again, just blew up with the touchdowns. So we'll see. Again, it's going to come down. He's not going to score 18 plus touchdowns again. But again, the year before he scored 2. So I think we'll probably be around those low 8 to 10 touchdowns, assuming that he's still the RB1. But Ray Davis did flash when he had his opportunities last year. I think that shouldn't go unnoticed. So yeah, give me the young guys here.
Debra, I'll trade you a 2028 rookie 4th rounder for Trey Benson in our Dynasty League.
I keep trying to give him to you, Worm, and you just don't want him. I mean, I keep trying to trade him to you, and you don't love Trey Benson enough.
Yeah.
It's
if you were trying to give him to me, I would take him. Trading is harder.
Trying to give him to you, just don't want him.
Who stands out to you here, Debra? Or if none of these names stand out to you, who outside the top 50 should be in here?
So I think the second-year running backs all stand out for all the reasons that Erickson kind of highlighted. I think the guys in this tier that stand out to me the most. Guerendo, because we know who he is. If CMC is out, he's a plug-and-play RB1. Bashal Tootin, if we want to go the rookie path. But Jalen Wright also stands out. So does Ray Davis. Man, the guys I'll bring up real fast that I think should be 2 or 3 guys that I think should be inside the top 50. One, we've already talked about Brashard Smith. I think he is the new Jerick McKinnon in Kansas City. He should be inside the top 50 like he is in my ranks. Jarquez Hunter, I'm going to bring up yet again because he is going to play a role in this backfield. And the guy that he's not inside the top 50, the Green Bay Packers didn't do anything to add to their backfield. Marshawn Lloyd can't hurt his hip, his ankle, get appendicitis, and everybody else, man.
Debra, you know that he did get hurt already. He was rehabbing today. It's very sad.
Was he
don't
really?
Start with me, Erickson.
Yes,
I didn't
because
see
I
that.
posted my sleepers, and Marshawn Lloyd was one of my sleepers because I was going to bring him up too. He's in my top 50. And somebody commented on X, well, I'm assuming this is going to change with the injury news. I'm like, what?
What?
I didn't see that. Wow.
I didn't
Apparently
see it either.
He was rehabbing something. So
It says he's in the rehab group.
yeah, but that's not a good sign, man. It's what is it? It's May. It's August. I don't know what month it is, but it's very far from the season, and he shouldn't already be injured.
It's May. It's August. I don't know what month it is.
Fitz, by the way, we were doing a Dynasty Sleepers episode with me, Bogman, and Fitz last week. He shouted out Chris Brooks in the Green Bay backfield as like a very, very deep Dynasty Sleeper. So just to talk about the Green Bay backfield there. We'll hope for health, bro, for Marshawn Lloyd.
I mean, if he's healthy. If he's healthy.
Easily. Yeah. What about you, Erickson? Anybody outside the top 50 that fits for you? And then we'll get out of here.
So I don't hate Blake Corum, so I think that he's still, again, I think one of these Rams is going to pop behind Kyron. So whether it's Corum or Hunter, I'm going to draft both guys, and only one of them needs to hit. So I like Corum still. Braylon Allen, again, we talked about the Jets, if they're going to really run heavy. Is Braylon Allen, is he a better fit, as a more traditional early down grinder running back? I think the lanes opening up for him with Justin Fields might actually help him a lot more than necessarily Breece Hall, who does he need to be more explosive? I don't necessarily know that. So I think Braylon Allen's kind of interesting. And just another guy to mention, just because it kind of ties into like the Saquon Barkley, if Barkley gets hurt. Will Shipley. Again, like if everything comes to fruition with Barkley not returning from the touches and the workload and he misses games, well, the situation is still really good. And by all accounts, Will Shipley, the guy they drafted last year, is the next guy. And I'm going to be so sad if somehow A.J. Dillon finds his way into the lineup. But for right now, I'm on the Will Shipley bandwagon. So he's another sleeper I wanted to highlight.
If A.J. Dillon finds his way into that rotation, something has gone horribly, horribly wrong. Just going to throw that out there.
I just want to say, outside the top 50, like, I want to just take as many of the rookies as I can. Like, I want DJ Giddens on teams. I want
Taj Brooks.
I want Dylan Sampson. I want Taj Brooks. I want Kyle Monangai. I want Damian Martinez. Like, I just want these flyers on these guys on teams once you get into this range anyway.
Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt?
Yes!
Come on, man. JCM, dude.
Oh, I was going to say
I thought you guys were going to bring him up when I brought up Brian Robinson.
Well, we had to wait, players that are not inside the top 50
even like getting further down the list, like Jordan James, Woody Marks, like I just want to take swings on this rookie class.
Yeah.
The non-rookie, I will say too, Justice Hill, RB66, he's been inside the top 45
here we go.
2 years in
Raven.
a row.
Had to get a Raven in.
No, I'm
Why
just
didn't
saying,
you just bring up Keaton Mitchell instead? Come on.
Because I think Hill has the trust of the team more than Mitchell, especially in pass protection. Like, even with Derrick Henry staying healthy and getting all the touches, he was inside the top 40 running backs last year. And that was with missing a couple of games, too. Like, I just think he's like the boring veteran type of value in this range. But for the most part, I want rookies here.
The over 1.5 Ravens just hit Erickson, so cash it.
I am just giving people good advice because Justice Hill is going to outperform RB66 if he's healthy. I guarantee it. All right, we'll wrap up there because we went long. But good episode. We got through a ton of running backs there for Debro and Erickson. I'm Ryan Wormeli. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again next time.
Go Ravens.
Go Ravens.